Yo, what's up, guys? It's Talon. So today we're going to be reviewing a loss where I did not play very well. I'm laning against one of the best mid laners in the server. He's been ranked 1 Ari many times. He's a viewer as well, and he's like a really, really good player. And we kind of play into him, and I'm learning Orianna. Not the best Orianna, but trying to get better at her because of the buffs. And so I thought that this would be a good loss to review because I feel like I can learn a lot from this game. Whereas honestly, a lot of the times it feels like sometimes it's hard to learn when you're a sovereign or challenger player laning against, you know, low elo players or whatever on champions that you've played 1,500 games of, as I usually do. So playing a different champion here, and into a really good player, I thought there's a lot I can learn. I think the first thing that I really kind of note here is that I don't really like going Ignite. I tried Ignite, I wanted to see how it would work, but I noticed later in the game having Exhaust or a defensive spell, even Barrier, probably would have been a lot more useful here. So that's kind of the first thing. And then I also think that I push a bit too hard here, which then makes it so that I can't really pressure his last hit. So like I walk up for that first ability there, which was pretty pointless because he didn't need the last hit because the minion was not in last hit range. And then I miss my Q. He hits his Q on me because then I'm walking up to try to poke him. So I think that's the first mistake. I do get prio here and get poke with my comment, which I think is good because it starts to deny him some gold, and so I can take advantage of the early levels here. So I don't think this is necessarily bad here. He did a really good job charming me because, again, I'll kind of point this out because I want to sort of show you guys some of the good things he does as well. Just because he is a really good player and you can kind of learn from him at the same time. So notice how it's very clear that I want to walk up for this last hit here. You can see how the minion's getting really low, and he's noticing that, and he's looking for a charm on me because of this. And so this was really nice to sneak the charm right through me there and then win the trade really hard. So that's definitely something that as a mage player I've kind of been struggling with. I've not done super well in Orianna, especially when I'm playing her in the lane phase, and that kind of allowed me to get outpoked in the lane. Then here we're trying to dodge his spell, so we have a good trade here where I do a good job of juking his spell, and then the Viego comes and we just kite back here, which then leads to a pretty good play. So like I remember like the very start of the early game kind of went pretty fine here. We ended up just kiting the Viego out here, and I think for the matchup I can play pretty aggressive pre-level 5 into Ari, because if I get hit by a charm I don't really die to her, and then once I get hit by a charm I go half health. I can, you know, then start to play a bit safer. But here I just take a recall here, and I don't really mind what happens here because we got, you know, the good early play, and then my team went pretty aggro. So everything here is pretty fine. Like I said, in my lane phase I should have punished his last hits better, but pre-level 5 I'm thinking the Orianna matchup feels pretty good into Ari, just based again on how I'm sort of observing the game going. I'm able to poke him pretty easily, and even if he gets like at charm or anything on me, he doesn't really have all in potential. And so you see how I'm really aggressive trying to juke his spells, and I think I can do that because of the fact that, again, he doesn't have level 5. But I think a lot of the issues for me came around jungle tracking and then playing around once he hit level 5. So here I back on mana boots, and he also backs on mana boots. You can see how my wave is very good. I'm in a generally very good state, and the game's going very well so far. And then I think here, again, this is kind of where the issues come, where I allow him to just be able to easily walk up at me when I don't have really proper like potential for my teammates to follow up. But we'll kind of see what happens here. So I'm just farming here. I denied him some gold by freezing there as I recalled on that wave, so I'm pretty fine still with how everything's gone. And then I'm just kind of farming, like nothing really, you know, too crazy going on so far. And again, the early game didn't go too bad, but we'll sort of see later. I'm also going Ludens first. I'm skipping Archangels here because I felt like I probably didn't really need it. I'd rather just have the better early game damage, which a lot of people have been doing on Orianna now. I don't really think it's completely necessary to always go for Archangels anymore unless they have a lot of dive. But here I also felt like I didn't really have much impact in the early lane, and I think like this is the first issue here. I don't really think I need to be focusing on trading him that much. I think just pushing and then taking a roam opportunity earlier might have been better here to possibly find something topside, but I still don't hate being in lane here. So again, when I'm reviewing my games, I'm kind of just thinking about what I would be thinking during the game, trying to figure out if I should have changed anything. So far, again, those lane phase errors could have been better, but nothing too crazy here. And then I take a recall here, and I think he finds a double kill on a roam. And so my issue is really that I didn't ping here. I think recalling when I'm up 400 gold and I have a lost chapter is fine, but I probably should have walked straight bot here, and I should have pinged my teammate. I should have kind of been aware of the fact that my enemy or my teammates would be kind of overextended here, looking at the waves and thinking about his potential for roaming. And so here he catches up in gold. It's not the end of the world because I'm still pretty even with him, and I still get a plate out of it. And overall, the things that I get out of it aren't too bad. But when I'm looking at the way that Trickster plays, who is a much better mid laner than me, like I can play every role, I can do it pretty well. But especially on mages and just in general, he's, probably the best, if not one of the best mid laners on our server. And I'm noticing how he would roam there, even though he had the potential to recall, or he could have potentially done something else, or stayed in lane and tried to get prio. But he sort of skips that and just goes straight for the roam because he sees the overextension. And for me as a mid laner, a lot of times I'm a little bit more greedy where I wouldn't really go for a roam like that. So I think that early roam play that he went for made a lot of sense. And then here I tried to go for a roam, but my mid lane's being pushed. I don't think that this is bad because he would get mid prio anyways. And then regardless of that, I'm going to be able to come for the next wave and get that before the dragon. So I don't really mind that play either here. But again, the main thing was kind of allowing him to roam without pinging or without following his roam. When I had the pressure, I could have just easily followed up on him, and then that kind of made the game, a bit bad there. But I'm just trying to poke him out now since the dragon is spawning. And I think an issue here is that they're just trading, so I don't really need to walk up at all. I can just pretty much play pretty safely, let them trade. Don't really have to do anything, which again, it looks like we do fine here. We'll kind of see when the game goes more or becomes more problematic. Obviously, again, the early game, not the end of the world, but some of those lane phase mistakes and also pinging when he was rotating probably could have been some of the main things here. And then again, he has kind of all-in potential on me, and so I should be playing a bit safer here, I think, which is kind of the first issue. Is again, he has that all-in potential on me and can walk up at me, and I think I re-walk up because I try to help since I see my jungler there and then I die. Obviously not good there, but I think I just need to be more aware of the fact that Ahri kind of gets control of the wave once she's past level 5 because she has the all-in potential on me. And for me as a player who plays a lot of aggressive mid laners like Jace and like Lucian, Aurelia, like those are some of my favorite mid laners to play. I'm oftentimes trying to do too much when I don't have the advantage. And there again, Ahri had her ultimate, she had all-in potential on me, and I had nothing that I could really do. And when I'm typically playing mages, I'm not thinking about that because mages aren't really the champions I'm typically very good at. And so when I'm looking at it, I think that I should have, like I said, just gone straight for or just stayed back, let her kind of, push into me and just farmed and been a bit more okay with that. And then here, I think I could have gone top side initially to catch that wave from Renekton and then came back afterwards. But going here and then getting Ludens is pretty fine as well. So I think the main thing so far, again, in the early lane, I need to punish last hits a little bit better, but the lane phase still went fine. I think more of the issue came from, again, not pinging the roam on them and then not respecting Ahri once she has the advantage in lane. Whereas again, normally I'm really happy to be aggressive in that type of situation as the champions I play. But when I'm playing Orianna, I need to be a bit more, scared there and just respect the enemy a bit more. And then here, even I think I could just go bot side here and let my team cover the mid lane instead of going back to mid lane. So I think here there was a wave. So we can kind of see here, for example, if you look how this wave's already getting all the way under the turret, whereas this one's just coming to mid lane. If I pinged my teammates to go mid lane there, and then I just went to the bot side, we would have had a bit better tempo advantage because I'd be able to catch that wave. And then as they're coming out of base, we can have two people going straight to mid lane. And because I'm not very strong, I'm fine with just catching side waves. I don't really need to be in the mid lane since the Ahri has good all-in potential, and then I walk up and I get caught here again. Which is kind of the problem here. Again, Ahri has the all-in potential on me, and I'm not really respecting that. And then that leads to me dying again and getting caught when I really shouldn't. Then it makes my team have to go towards mid, whereas if I just caught that bot wave initially, again, there's no real danger for me there. And even if I die on the bot wave, it's not nearly as bad as dying on the mid wave, where then we lose the turret. And that's kind of what snowballs, the early game here. Again, just the lack of respect when I'm playing these mages because I'm just used to these more aggressive champs, and I can definitely see like that bad habit kind of building up, and then we end up just falling very behind. It looks like the Viego kind of ints there, so that's good though. Shout out to Viego for that. And again, I think I could have just caught more side waves in this mid game, and I think that's definitely should be my main goal. And then this is kind of something I was thinking about as well. So now I've fallen behind, and when I fall behind, a lot of times I'm trying to split push on Jace, for example, or on these other aggressive AD champions that I typically play because they're good side laners. But I think when I'm playing Orianna and I'm behind, I can be more okay with potentially just being a pretty supportive champion and sort of following my team and giving up some things to overstack a side of the map, because Orianna's oftentimes, in a lot of danger on side lane. Like, for example, here, I was really worried about side laning Ahri because I knew at this point, obviously, I could very easily die to her, especially if anyone came to gank, and I'm pretty much just here to catch a wave. And so I think in a situation like this, if there's a turret up, I could really try to play for that turret. So say that the top side turret was actually up, like their top side turret, I could try to go with Camille and overstack that lane, use my shield and whatever to try to help her get that, even if I end up giving a turret, because I'm likely to get dove here and die or something. And then I think that's what happens. I believe I do get dove here. And so you can kind of see how they stack with Renekton and Ahri here, and then I end up dying and getting, you know, in a bad spot. And so again, if we're looking at it, imagine if I'm with the Camille right now, right? The Camille can even take that turret, or if I'm just hovering mid. So normally I'm really trying to be really efficient catching side waves, but like I'm, you know, kind of learning from watching this gameplay, when I'm playing a champion like Orianna and I'm behind and my, you know, bot lane wants to go towards the mid lane, I need to be okay with potentially losing out on some gold to make plays again with that Camille, or overforce it on a side with my split pusher, rather than just going to a lane where I'm going to die anyways. And then I think I can go and catch the wave once it actually starts pushing a lot deeper into us. Like, for example, now where the wave currently is bot side, I could go catch that wave when it got there, but obviously if it was up further, like I said, then I'm going to get dove or other things like that. So a lot of the issues here this game are just lack of respect of the enemy's potential to kill me in different scenarios, because I'm playing a lot of more of a squishy champion. Part of that could have been exhaust, could help me a little bit, but I don't think exhaust is really going to stop me from dying in most of these scenarios. But I do think into the Ahri matchup in the future, taking exhaust probably makes sense for me. Unless I'm really trying to stomp it, but I think it's better to just try to survive the early game with Orianna. Which also, I'm trying to think if there's other rune choices I could potentially make, because I know there's a lot of rune choices and I get caught here again, not respecting it. So this is kind of another situation. I'll talk about the rune choice after, but I wanna talk about specifically looking like what I could have done here again. So we were talking about potentially playing through the sides, whereas I'm walking up on mid here because there's a wave and I want to get the wave and I don't really care about my life since there's no objectives up. I'm in my thoughts are I just want to get gold. If I die, I die. That was kind of what was going through my mind. I believe I even said that on stream. But when I'm looking at it in hindsight, I think it makes a lot more sense to just go hover with the Camille here and just have someone extra there. Like, Camille's pretty strong right now. If Camille ults someone, I can shield her, ult them, and get a lot of burst damage on them. And I can at least make someone else's game easier. So I think I should have played a much more supportive role going on the side lane here again. Instead, obviously, I put myself in a position to easily get caught. And getting this wave doesn't really do anything because the enemy are just going to push the wave and then I can go catch it once it gets pushed towards us. Whereas I'm just being very disrespectful. So very obviously dumb gameplay by me there. A very big mistake. And again, comes kind of with a, you know, not being very good on the mages. And that's definitely something to learn from my game as well. And again, puts us pretty far behind, and kind of the big reason why we're behind here is because I'm down over 2k gold on the Ahri, whereas the rest of my team's actually doing decent. Had I played around the Camille or other people like that, I think that we would have been in a much better spot, because Camille is going to outscale a Renekton. She's going to be very good at catching out anyone who really gets fed, like an Ahri, for example, or whoever. And we just overall would have been in a good spot there. And so I think when I am trying to kind of overstack a lane, there's kind of two options. I think it makes the most sense to stack with someone who has good setup. So for example, say that my bot lane had engaged support. I think I could stack with them, but instead, like, this is exactly what I meant here. And this is kind of where I was like thinking in the game, oh, I could just do this. And then this is what happens. You know, we end up getting the Camille, the kill there. And I think this is like a very good thing, because then it even draws people to us. I end up getting Infinity Orb because I get some gold off that as well. And then we're drawing people to us so my team can potentially do things on the other side of the map. We see Ahri was forced to ult on the top side, and then we just kind of drag them away here. So I definitely think this is a great example of what I could have been doing earlier in the game. And had I been doing this, even once I fell behind, we probably would have been in a very good spot. And so I think these are some important things to kind of learn. Especially if you guys are looking to pick up some of the really OP mages like Orianna and Syndra right now, because those are a couple of the ones I've really been trying to get good at. These might be some mistakes you may see in your own gameplay as well, kind of just being a bit disrespectful if you're used to playing more aggressive champions as well. And then again here, now we're hitting our Infinity Orb, so I have a little bit more burst damage, but overall the game is very hard at this point. And I think, again, following up on my team is kind of the only thing I can do at this point, because I am quite weak still. Maybe once I hit death cap, I start to have more burst damage myself, but we see the Vayne ends up getting a nice kill there. And we're overall still in a spot where we can potentially win the game, and so I'm going to try to catch the mid wave now because my team's on that bot wave. And I think they sneak Baron here. Yeah, this is what I remember this situation now. So they actually had a really good Baron sneak because their jungler's dead, so we kind of naively assume there's just no way they're going to do it. And then they end up just sneaking it without their jungler. And so that was a pretty smart play by them, because obviously we didn't necessarily expect that. Could have been more aware of that for sure. Just as a team as a whole, we all could have been more aware of that. And then that leads obviously to the enemy being able to kind of put themselves in a nice position. And so what I'm thinking here then because they got the T-Rex and because I'm, not very useful, I'm just going to go on the side lane and try to get a wave pushed, because then at least they'll get one less inhib out of it potentially. So that's really all that I was thinking here. I didn't really care about dying, which I think this is a good play at this point, because we are really behind and we just need to make sure that the lanes are pushed. You can see Camille doing the same thing. And if their lanes are not synced up, so like, the mid wave is not pushing at the same time as bot and top wave, then they're going to have a harder time pushing, because if we just clear that one wave, then we're fine. And so here again, I'm like, if they come to kill me, they kill me. I don't care. The wave is what matters. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand really, is the waves and playing around that. And so that's definitely a big way to kind of deny value from the Baron, because they don't actually get much value from this T-Rex. We end up getting another T-Rex stolen or snuck on us later in the game, as you'll see. And so definitely a lot of mistakes of awareness there too. So I think it's good as well for you guys to see me playing very bad in the game with like a lot of lack of awareness. Like everyone, plays bad in some games. And even this game, I was blaming my team. Like I remember specifically, I was blaming my team in this game. And like when I look at it in hindsight, like I was just playing very badly. But sometimes, it happens. You get tilted, you blame your team, or you play really bad and whatever. And I just think it's important as well to show you guys like when I'm doing that as well. And I think there is a lot I can learn from this game, like I said. So again, I've said it many times. This is typically what I do when I'm reviewing my games. I try to repeat the main things that I did wrong, or I do the same thing when I'm coaching people, so that I can really think about, again, what I want to go into my future Orianna or Syndra games doing. And for Orianna and Syndra, I really want to focus first on taking advantage of the early lane phase where Orianna and Syndra are really good by punishing last hits a lot more on the enemy. Potentially think about my rune choice a bit more, and then respect the power spikes, which is going to be level 5 for a lot of assassins. Like Ahri's sort of a pseudo assassin. If I'm laning against any like a Kali Diana, I need to respect the level 5 kind of shift where then the enemy become a lot stronger. Think more about jungle, and then if I do fall behind, I want to kind of find more of the side laner to play around, rather than walking up on waves too aggressively, or playing too much for my own side lane kind of greed or whatever. Instead, I think I can play a lot more around if I have a strong side laner, facilitating them more, walking up and like overstacking a lane. So even if I give up something on a different side, if I'm overstacking a lane, potentially we can really, push that really hard, get a kill, and then maybe get some turrets off that. I think those are some of the main things that I'm going to be looking for in the future. And then my mechanics on this champion just aren't very good as well. Again, like I'm kind of learning Orianna, so frankly, I do not have the best mechanics. I miss a lot of ults and don't always, manage my balls super well. So that's also just something that'll come with time on this champion. But now here, again, we just catch a wave, and I think, again, if I was playing Jace, I would have greeted another wave, but I think on Orianna, I can potentially just be more okay with coming to my team, immediately instead of greeting an additional wave or something like that. Because you can see our Camille is very strong here, and we're still in like a decent spot for coming back. But then, like I said, the enemy will eventually sneak another Baron on us, I think. And then that's kind of the issue. You can see here, I'm trying to get my death cap, and Camille's going to ping Kempunk in a second. And so we know that me and Camille really want to recall, because we're both going to hit an item spike. And so that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to get this wave. We're going to let Camille get some of it. And then we're going to recall for items. So playing around these item spikes is really important too. So when you are behind and you hit an item spike and you see your teammate maybe hit an item spike, this is a time where you would want to fight now. So once me and Camille get back, it would be a very good idea to look for a potential fight here, because we are very strong now with those items, and we're not going to get much stronger than that. Death cap is definitely like the biggest spike for most mages, including Orianna. You can see how much damage Ahri does already, but then our teammate goes in there and tries to catch her out, but doesn't really. Then they kind of run out. Doesn't turn out too bad for us, but yeah, they're sneaking the Baron. See, this is where they snuck the Baron. Again, this is like, they had some sneaky Baron plays that obviously we could have been aware of it, but they were like pretty good plays that I'll definitely credit them for, because we were distracted fighting multiple of the enemy there, and then you see obviously I get caught there, pretty dumb by me, but multiple times where one time their jungler's dead, they sneak Baron, another time where almost their entire, like 2 or 3 of their teammates are fighting us, and then they use that as a distraction. So that was kind of smart. Obviously, again, lack of awareness by us, but some good plays by them as well to sneak those Barons. The enemy top laner as well is I think he's like top 10 on the server right now. He's a jungle main, but he's a really good player as well. So we were against some good players here, and we had a challenger bot lane, so it was like a relatively high elo game, and I made a lot of mistakes, and I think I can learn a lot from this game in terms of playing mages and everything. So as always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I have memberships on my channel for $5 a month if you're interested in that. Link in the description to that. $15 an hour for coaching as well if you're interested in that. Also link in the description to my Discord server, and you can DM me there, and I'll see you guys later.